Hello and welcome to Paper Traders, a show where two average Joes try to beat the market. I am your co-host Eric, and I'm here with Danny. And today, I know that everybody was kind of, hoping that we get Kevin here, and we weren't able to quite do that. But we will introduce our guest in a second. Just
He's a tough guy to nail down,
He's a busy dude. He's got a lot going on. But real quick, just a reminder: we're streaming on all your favorite platforms. We're here live, so we can take your questions live. So make sure you get them in. And with that, I guess we will introduce our guest, which is Dan Laboe, Associate Stock Strategist here at Zacks.com. Welcome, Dan.
Good to be here.
Oh, I always do that. I don't think I'm ever going to get it right. I always replay the open every time. I think it's just going to become an everyday thing. So
practice makes perfect.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, Dan, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. I know you do your own show, so it can be kind of a lot going on. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your show that you do here, which is every, I think, Tuesdays and Thursdays, right?
Yeah, so I talk about the fourth revolution and some of the stocks that
yeah,
not close enough.
You got to get right up on that
not
microphone.
Used to doing these podcasts. I talk about stocks for your portfolio of the future and kind of some stocks that have a lot of potential moving forward, and some of the stocks kind of under the radar that we're not looking on a day-to-day basis.
Which is always something. I feel like there's always a tech company popping up or coming out with something new. So
and it's all about sorting the duds from the studs.
Yeah, that's
the duds from the studs.
I like that.
I gotta turn those sound effects up. So what's your background on? We usually put people through the grinder and find out where they came from, what they're doing, how they ended up here, and then what they do here.
So yeah, I started in Chicago as a trader. I did Eurodollars, which is effectively a interest rate future. So I traded there for about 6 months. The company unfortunately went under.
Whoops.
Yeah, no. Computers kind of took over the trade, and
as I'm sure a lot of people kind of can relate to.
Yeah, no, trading is all algorithm based now. And especially for the CME exchange, it's like 80% of the trades are made from a computer. But no, then I moved to PepsiCo. I was a financial analyst there for about 2 years, and now I'm here.
Nice.
Doing what I love.
Yeah, writing tech and getting into it. So do you happen to remember what your first trade was? It's usually something we ask everybody.
My first trade.
Your first trade.
It's a good question. Honestly, I think it was something generic like Apple, which honestly was not a bad trade when I bought it. Like ever since the Great Recession, it's gone nowhere but up.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, I actually got into the Apple stock myself not too long ago. So anyway, let's kind of break into news and see what's going on there. The big deal right now, pretty much short of anything, quote, impeachment or pretty much trade deal, is essentially, the Aramco deal. And the Aramco deal, I mean, it's not going to really probably affect us too much because it's only in the foreign market, but it's kind of a big deal.
I would consider it a pretty big deal when you have the highest
the wealthiest country in
the world sitting at now, because of the stock surge, $1.9 trillion, which that's a lot of money. So
we got to think it's a very small portion of the company that was actually sold off.
Right.
They wanted to sell
1.5%.
Yeah, 1.5%.
But that's even scarier, right? Like only 1.5%, and it's valued at $1 trillion.
Well, it's the fact of the matter that there was no interest outside of Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
No one wanted any part of this because of the control.
Well, yeah, obviously the government holds on to everything, but I mean, China's doing pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, China's always doing good ostensibly. They're showing positive numbers, but who knows how accurate those numbers actually are.
Well, that's always the question. I mean, I remember Tracy Reinick here years ago talking about how companies in China, they'd go in with like these amazing earnings, and then they go check the facility out, and there would be nothing there. It would just be an empty facility.
Yeah, that was a big problem back I'd say like 10 years ago they were doing
5-10.
that. Yeah, it was a big deal. A lot of Chinese companies weren't really trusted abroad. So I don't really see that being a huge deal here. It is a state-owned oil company. So a lot of that is kind of going towards a plan that the Crown Prince had kind of put into place. So it's something that they're looking to help their economy over the long run. I think it's more for that idea, not for anything else other than that, because a lot of those companies in China were doing it for their benefit. So,
well, I mean, if the government controls it, the government sees benefit, right? If you have a government facility and then you're only letting 1.5% of it out to the public, the government's still got the controlling interest, right?
Well, they wanted to sell more, they just couldn't. They were trying to get what was it? I think it was 100 billion of shares sold, and they could only get about, I think it was like 35 billion out because, like I said, there
That's
was a
all the
lack of
interest,
foreign
yeah.
interest. It was all Saudis who were buying this out.
Which is kind of funny. It's like investing in yourself at that point.
Seriously,
You're not, so is it even worth going IPO? But it is kind of a big deal because if it were to happen, I'm sure once it were to hit the markets, there probably would be maybe some foreign interest after that. Like now, I think it's just all speculation, scared, type staying back and watching what happens type deal.
And I think a lot of it is the fact that some of the foreign investors were concerned about valuation. They were concerned both about valuation and, like I said, the foreign company being controlled by government.
Yeah, I mean that'd be kind of scary because they could change the news or start a war over something.
And a lot of these oil companies have been plummeting over the last year.
Oh yeah, with the
ExxonMobil.
proliferation of alternate fuels. I mean, it's getting bigger and bigger.
And I think they just wanted to cash out before it was too late. Honestly, that's my thought of the process. Like,
Well, I mean, they also lost the seat as the top producer. I mean, the U.S. has been the top oil exporter for I think it was the last month.
I don't know how long, but it's been coming up with the Permian Basin. We've been able to kind of show that we can sustain the prices that subsequently get pushed down by OPEC and the production. So it's one of those things that we I don't know, we're standing the test of time, I guess.
Well, no, I not to sound like a freaking idiot, but like years ago I had said this. When the U.S. wasn't producing much, I said, just wait. What we're going to do is we're going to wait until the Saudis and other countries start running low or start slowing down their production. And then we're going to come in and go, guess what, guys? Remember when you were, jacking us for all that money? Well, guess who's going to pay it back now?
Yeah. Well,
now we've got the supply.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of other factors too. I mean, for example, this company, Aramco. I'm sorry, how do you pronounce it?
Aramco.
Aramco. Okay. They had a drone strike on one of their facilities, and they had to actually cut their output by 50%. So those types of things happen, and I feel like when that kind of company, who is the largest producer for OPEC, I mean, they're going to have huge impacts on those types of prices. So with us being able to kind of sustain those push downs on those big cutbacks on prices, which we see all the time, I'm sure consumers love them, but these oil companies don't. So
I mean, yeah, the more OPEC cuts, the more profitable our companies are going to be.
Oh yeah,
We're going to get both the volume and the price.
Yeah, because people are still going to want to buy it. There's not
Yeah.
going to be less demand,
and
that's
we
for
produce
sure.
oil at a cheaper price, so it's one of those things we kind of.
Oh, and we're killing Canada with that too. I mean, I know we're getting a little bit off topic and getting like really into the political end of things, but I mean, like Canada stopped basically producing oil because it costs so much to pull oil out of the tar sands.
That I
So
do
we're
know.
killing their economy because we decided to start pumping oil like crazy.
And that's always the concern with commodity-based economies,
Right.
that this kind of thing can happen and will happen eventually.
Well, right, because somebody else comes up with a supply. I mean, and it gets so much more complex with the Saudis because you got all their political backings yet with the government yet, with everything that's going on there religiously, realistically. I mean, it's literally a religious battle between the Houthis and the Sunnis.
Yeah, I don't
And
know
with that, that's where I'm sure that drone strike came in. I'm sure it was one group fighting the other. So, I mean, that's going to set off some instability there for sure.
I'm not too sure on the reasoning behind the drone strike. I just was reading about it and kind of the risks behind owning this company, even
Yeah,
though
but you'd
they're
have to
such a
be-
hard valued
You'd
company.
have-
They still have a lot,
You'd
of
have to be like
background.
living under a rock not to see that the involvement that the Saudi Arabians have had in pretty much the rest of the world, especially recently. I mean, you had the Khashoggi killing, like you can't forget that one. You've had these other strikes. They've been supplying arms to Iran. I mean, it's pretty shady business.
Yeah, I tend to unfortunately stay out of that type of news. I like to kind of shelter myself as the U.S. citizen I am.
Yeah, I like to follow.
Honestly, most U.S. citizens do.
I like to follow the money because eventually everything comes down to dollars, and when it comes to that type of stuff, I wonder where it goes. And so
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. But I mean, with that, I feel like we kind of hit on all those notes and to move on to something a little bit
Well,
more.
real quick here, we'll say good morning to Mike Peters. Mike Peters,
Oh, hey.
He's here as usual. He's got a quick question. Do you guys have any info on APDN? I think they release financials tomorrow, and I'm curious what to expect. Mike, we'll dive into that for you real quick. We'll have our man Dan on it. And while he's on that, Danny, why don't you lay on that next story for us?
Yeah, the next story is coming, unfortunately, again from China. I feel like we've been harping on China and the U.S. and the trade war and all this stuff. Again, very political, and unfortunately, it's in fact impacting the markets and whatnot. So China a couple days ago came out and basically stated that over the next coming years, all state offices are to remove both hardware and software that are U.S. manufactured. Basically, they're going to all China manufactured companies. It's one of those things where I believe it kind of stems from what we were doing with the blacklisting of Huawei.
Yeah.
And then there was also another company. What was it? I forget off the top of my head, but it was a video surveillance company, and it was like one of the biggest ones around. So it's not we're not just like kind of segregating the telecom people, but
I'm laughing at this one personally. You were there for the conversation yesterday, right? When we were talking about this. I mean, this is literally just tit for tat. We did the same thing to them a year or more ago at this point. They're just going and doing the same thing to us. I really don't think this is going to affect much personally.
well,
No.
I think what the big thing is that I don't know how big of a market share Huawei had here in the U.S., but
Oh,
I
that's
know,
zero. They weren't even here yet.
So yeah, I mean, going from that, you have Microsoft, Dell, HP, you have all the AMD guys, Intel, all those companies who manufacture and produce for millions and millions of people over in China.
Yeah, but maybe I'm
and
not
all
surprised
that-
about this because I saw like a month ago China had gone and like dumped like $3 billion into going and starting up their own chip makers so they don't have to buy foreign chips anymore. Like,
Well,
this is kind of
That's an industry that's very hard to get into. There's huge barriers to entry.
not disagreeing there, but I know that that's their plan is to go and get away from foreign
And
chips
that's-
altogether.
and that's
so.
going to be the issue. Is they're not going to be able to keep up with the tech outside of China. I mean, like,
yeah, because the world kind of shares this type of information, right?
Well,
I mean,
no.
it's
I
like
think
a-
this is where part of the trade deal comes in. It's not really shared.
Well,
You know, this is why the U.S. companies are so ticked off. Is because some of this shared information
Yeah,
turns
we-
into Samsung phones that
We
are
don't-
essentially iPhones.
we don't want it to be shared that much.
Right, right. I feel like there's a lot of proprietary information that's been shared,
True.
and that's why now these companies are starting to pull back and forth because they've shared enough, and now they can make it on their own.
Yeah, but I mean, I think bottom line is that we're going to see an impact on these U.S. companies, and I think this investors should be aware of that, especially if you are invested in them with these bottom dollars coming out. You're going to see, if not billions, hundreds of millions of dollars being lost in revenue due to this impact.
And this is all goes back to the trade war thing. It's like, if the trade war actually is resolved, are they going to pull this back? Are they going to say, okay, we're actually going to allow?
No, I don't think this will be a pullback thing. I think
don't
this
think
is a part
so.
of national security, and that's the other reason I'm not so concerned. I mean, how many government offices are buying up computers? It's not a nationwide ban. It's literally just in government offices.
But you have to think about this too. So there's a nationalist push, I think, in China right now, and
Right.
they want to buy Chinese produced goods.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that the government's pushing, and this push to make government facilities only buy Chinese made computers is going to be, I think, have a rippling effect across their economy and have.
Yeah, I feel like this is just the government. I mean, the whole story doesn't mention anything about just banning American computers flat out. I mean, they're literally just saying that in the government offices.
No, but again,
I mean,
that's
government offices are marginal. That's going to be a marginal.
Yeah.
office.
No, I mean, again, we're going to see a bottom dollar. I don't know if it'll be billions, but it definitely could be in the hundreds of millions, in my opinion. But
I don't know, man. How much does a Dell cost you? It's not like these guys are going to be putting the brand new Mac, $52,000 freaking beast under their desk to push paperwork. I mean, you're talking it's a small Dell desktop, and everybody in the office is going to have one. Couldn't be that much.
I don't know. We'll definitely see in the coming years. Again, this is something that they're going to be pushing over the next 3 years. I think they called it, what did I have? The 352. And they're calling that because it's at a pace of 30% in 2020, 50% in 2021, and then 20% in 2022.
I think that's a bold number.
But like Dan was saying, it's kind of something that maybe, I don't know, if this whole trade war does get kind of resolved, since this is such a long-term plan, is it something that they might kind of roll back? who knows? I mean,
I'm gonna take it back to the chips and say, like, I think that was the bigger story. The fact that they're gonna make their own chips is way more important than their government offices saying we're not gonna allow American computers. And so what? So they decide to go and try to make their own computers. They do go national. Me personally, I just feel like that should make our computer producers that there should be competition in their field. They should be feeling the pressure to make a better machine.
I don't know that they do.
Very, very difficult for them to meet our current
Demand. Oh, for sure.
NVIDIA is killing it.
Not even our demand, but just our capabilities that we have in our chips.
How much shared information do they have? How quick is it to just steal that and make it happen?
That's true. That's true. That's why we need more security on a lot of our chip makers.
But I mean, wouldn't you agree that would just make it more competitive? Now you're gonna have guys going, "Oh, we can make a better computer than you in China," but they're gonna see that American computer and go, "Well, that American computer's got an NVIDIA chip and can run circles around this thing. I'm gonna go with that one."
And in long term, competition is good for the entire world. You
Right.
know, I mean, we want the best of the best, and
Right.
the more competition we have, the further it's going to push this technology.
Couldn't agree more.
But will they sell their actual technology to us? So will it even
they
be
want to.
competition?
I just
You know what
don't think
mean?
it'll match us, honestly.
I think that there's no reason they wouldn't want to sell them to us. I mean, our government might say no, but I don't think any person on the street, if they could get a Chinese, I mean, come on, Chinese-made computers, they're all Chinese-made now as it is, right? There's no way that somebody wouldn't buy a Chinese-branded national computer versus an American computer if it wasn't better.
Yeah. And trust me, I actually wanted to see what parts were made where, and I'm curious to see how much of my computer at home is made in China. If not, none of it. I don't know. I'd be curious to see where the manufacturing of the actual
I'm sure it's all Taiwan.
little
It's
pieces and
it's
stuff.
becoming less and less. With this trade war going on. I mean, a lot of the manufacturing is going to Taiwan.
India,
Malaysia,
Vietnam. I've actually read as well. I mean, this is just two people fighting at each other, and all it's going to do is make, I think personally, the products better for the consumer. You're going to see machines that, who knows, the Chinese might actually take that I don't want to say stolen. I'm going to cut
Don't
myself
put words out like that.
I'm going to say borrowed technology or shared technology and be able to create something even better. You might have a chip that might be able to, quadruple the speed of the current NVIDIA chip in a year. Who knows?
and a lot of these companies are partnering with people like Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, and that's probably what China's going to have to do. Right now, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, it's a mouthful. call it TSMC. Is working on the atomic scale, and they've got a chip right now that's able to put 30 billion transistors on it. They're working with Samsung on this chip.
I remember you talking about this.
And it's unbelievable how fast this stuff is going.
Well, I mean, like nanotechnology. I mean, years ago it wasn't even a possibility, and now here we are.
And so we can't even comprehend it. It's
insane.
crazy.
All right, on that point, let's see what we got here. So we got more questions and more stuff. Fernando, no, Kevin is not here. He wasn't able to make it again. I am promising that he will be here sometime, hopefully before the end of the year.
I was going to say, don't say next week because that's a promise I don't know that we can keep.
We're going to be really busy next week. Next week's the Zus, for those that don't know. And for those that don't know, it means that you should go to Zacks.com/promo. For $1, you can check out all of Zacks portfolios for $1, and you can see things that have been closed to other people, and you get access to the Zus, which is the Zacks Ultimate Strategy Session, which will be coming out live next week.
Jeez, you knocked that transition literally out of the park. I guess.
Got a little practice using
Yeah.
radio. But yes, no, Fernando, he is not here. Mike Peters, I hear China's been hiring a lot of chip making engineers. Yep, we are on top of that for sure, as we had said. Neymar Magic, I want to be rich. Can you help me which stock to buy with huge growth?
Man, I think we all want to be really rich.
If it were only that easy. That's why we paper
That's
trade.
straightforward.
Right?
It's not easy. The market is not easy to
You mean you didn't bring
navigate,
your little
so-
lamp? You didn't bring your lamp so we could rub it today and get
Honestly, I
rich?
left it at my desk. I'll bring it next time.
Next time. All right,
all right.
next time. Next
We're
time,
gonna
Mario will
expect
have
it.
it for you.
Well, he's got the little golf, genie lamp, so I guess we could rub that for the golf gods.
The minute he gets it on there, we will all be rich.
I've been
That's how
trying
it's
this
going to
for
work
30 minutes
out.
before we started this. It's not happening.
All right, so that seems like it's it for questions. Going back to the Mike Peters, do you have anything, Dan, for APDN?
APDN.
Yes.
So I'm personally not familiar with this company. I feel like he's bringing this up because this is a company that tries to prevent counterfeiting in technology. I mean, looking at the stock price, this is a toxic stock. It's gotten nowhere but down over the last year. It's fallen 76% year to date, and I mean, a stock like this I would stay away from.
I'm trying to follow you along. What are you looking at?
I'm just looking at the 1-year chart here. Or the year-to-date chart, sorry.
Gotcha.
And
Oof.
you don't want to touch a stock that has this kind of movement. Unless you see some great news coming out of it and some large volume pushes up, I would stay out of something like this.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the price consensus and EPS and see what's going on with that. See if it's had any bounces anytime because
we
it's all
don't-
down. But they do have those 3 lately that went up. I mean,
And we currently don't even have any analyst coverage on it because we have no Zacks rank. I don't think any VGM scores of any type. So
I mean, this looks like a manipulated stock. There's this one day where the stock
Bounced,
shot up.
I saw that spike too.
266%. So
algorithms?
Some was manipulating this.
Yeah.
In other
Making a little
words,
money.
stay away.
Yeah, I would stay away from this.
So that's our recommendation to you there, Mike Peters. It seems like this is recommendation. It seems like that's a bad one to get into, bud. So I probably stick away from that one. It's funny that you saw that spike too. I was like, I wonder what that's all about. But I didn't see
just
anything.
be careful.
Yeah, unless you know something that the rest of us don't. Which Neymar magic. If you want to get rich, this could be the one, bud.
Please tell us if you do know something.
If you do know something, we'd love to get that information. Just send us an email at podcast@zacks.com. With that, Neymar, I got a small portion pure gold up. So yeah, not getting anything on gold. Anyway, Danny, do we have anything else in the news?
Yeah, we had one little kind of tidbit story coming out, kind of following up with the Boeing jet. I know it's been a long process. A lot of people have been talking about it for, I think, has it been a year yet?
It's been about a year since they got grounded.
Yeah, so they came out and basically were saying that they have no idea when these jets are going to get off the ground. And I don't blame them.
Which is good because it seems like they're dangerous.
Well, yeah, dangerous, and they're also very cost-effective for these airlines. They're supposed to be very fuel efficient. I know they were saying that airlines like Southwest, I believe United, were saying that they have lost millions of dollars due to the loss of having these airplanes just sitting basically in like a
I'm sure
graveyard.
You're losing money just having planes that you paid for just sitting there. That's an obvious one, but I mean, I put this on Boeing. This is Boeing trying to
And
push
the FFA.
Well, yeah, they were trying
FAA.
to push a plane out that wasn't ready. And you know what? I feel sorry for the company. I mean, let's say that they do ground this thing permanently. I'm sure those companies that bought into it are going to sue Boeing. I mean, that's obvious.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that Boeing really hasn't taken that much of a hit.
I mean, the government contracts. I mean, that's what
It is-
they pretty much
they're
make
still
their
the
money
number
off
one.
of, right?
And that's what I'm saying. It's like if this didn't happen, how much would Boeing have grown this year?
Probably a ton.
Would have been huge.
Well, this is like really bad news. I mean, if you have a plane that gets grounded, I mean, I know that Airbus just sold a couple of 100 planes to some company out west of us, but yeah, I mean, they're Airbus is making moves. I mean, could you pull up Airbus and take a look at what Airbus is doing right now too? I mean, I bet you they're up versus what Boeing's been doing.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to be profiting. Somebody has to be making this extra money. It's not like people stopped buying planes because Boeing decided that their plane was, dangerous.
Yeah, I mean they're still producing planes, Boeing, and they're still the number one, I believe, aircraft manufacturer. Other than, like you said, Airbus, I believe they were making some moves to try and take that market share.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, why
think
wouldn't
that,
you?
Yeah, well, I just think that a lot of companies have invested with them for so long that making that type of switch may be, I don't know, just dangerous for them. They don't know the company that well. They know Boeing.
What do you got to say, Dan? What's Airbus doing?
Airbus is up 44% this year.
Yeah, so you go figure. You got to know somebody's buying or selling those planes to somebody who will buy them.
And that's what makes me think Boeing could be a buying opportunity right now with this,
Depends on what happens, though. This could be a fail.
They're not going anywhere.
I
don't
honestly,
know.
I think this is going to be resolved.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, they keep pushing it back. Yeah, but eventually this is going to be resolved. The plane's going to be safe to fly. There's no question about that. They're going to be investing money into this one way or another to make sure that these are able to fly.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
they're not gonna let
otherwise
them
they're
just
gonna
sit there.
get sued to
Exactly.
high heaven, literally.
they know that, and I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time, I believe. Even they were saying even if the FAA, I don't know why I keep saying FFA, approves the planes, that you still have to go through all the training to actually do or actually fly these 737s, and then they still were saying that they have 10 to 11 milestones to kind of go through to even get this plane certified. So I think they have a lot of hurdles to kind of jump through, and
It's
it's
gonna be
going
a
to
while.
be it could be another year or two. Who knows? Which is not going to help the company, but
But you know,
I don't see them going anywhere.
You
anytime
don't
soon.
think the stock goes anywhere anytime soon?
Well, the stock may take an effect, but as a long-term investor, I don't see it being
I think this is like
too big of a deal.
I think it's like in purgatory right now. I
It-
think
oh, it
depending on what
definitely
happens,
is.
decides if it goes down or if it
That's-
bounces up.
It's been stalling ever since this announcement, which I think it was in March, I believe.
I can't even
Yeah.
remember.
This year.
It feels
I
like
believe it was in March.
Yeah, it was
it's been
and
about a year.
the initial impact was about 10% drop, which isn't like as significant as you would think something like this would have on a stock.
Yeah, you think it'd be a lot bigger.
And it's traded sideways ever since, with this pushback of these planes being grounded for this long. And once there is news that these stocks are flyable again, this stock's gonna fly.
Pun intended.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I don't think this company's going to disappear.
Oh my goodness.
Special. Oh, geez, Dan, twice in one show.
I don't know how I did that.
Yeah, I think that just blew my thought right out of my head. I don't. Okay, I don't think the stock's gonna disappear. I mean, Boeing's been around for a while. The government contract's got to be keeping it on its feet, But I feel like it does have room to drop if it comes out this plane can't fly. And
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I think that if you wanted to take a chance there, Mr. Bubba Hensley coach, or no, that wasn't you. It was who was it? Neymar. Neymar, if you want to take a chance, here's one that you could potentially take a chance on. This would be a gamble. I don't know if I'd put it in my portfolio, but somebody who wants to take a chance on a stock that probably has a chance to ride out. You're probably right, Dan. I would agree with that. Speaking of Bubba Hensley coach, this one's right up your alley, Dan, because you just talked about him with us yesterday. Do you expect Tesla to reach $400 per share?
That's a lofty goal.
Honestly, yeah, I do.
A
I
lot
think
of
it'll
people
surpass
do.
400.
I was going to
So
say, I've heard 500 being thrown out there.
There's so many critics right now and so many short
Oh,
sellers.
I'm a
in the
hater.
market.
People know I'm a hater.
You got one right
There's
across
so
from
many
you.
haters, and this is great news for people with a long-term objective and a long-term positive sentiment towards this company. Because once these short sellers get out, this stock's going to boom. And it's only, I mean, it's probably still short at about 20% of the free floating shares out there. And once we get some more positive news coming out of this Shanghai factory, the Gigafactory 3, which is already, I talked about this yesterday in my show.
Check it out, guys. Here's a plug for the Fourth Revolution. Just did it yesterday.
These transitions are beautiful.
And so once this Gigafactory 3 really takes off and starts producing, they're talking about a 250,000 annual capacity. Once it starts producing that kind of capacity, this stock's gonna fly. I mean, they're in. Like
I mean, it's at $355.32 right now. It's not too hard to think they could go up $40. Like $45. It's not that far.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
That's what I was saying. I've heard the whole $500 mark kind of be thrown out there. But we'll see. I mean, they have the Cybertruck coming out in, what is it, 2021?
I'm just gonna
It's an interesting
So
car. I will
ugly.
say it's growing on me. The more I see it
I'm
all
gonna
over the
pull-
internet.
I'm gonna
I
pull
saw-
up a vehicle from what was that? Not RoboCop. Total Recall.
I think
The
it looks
original
more like
Arnold
this
Schwarzenegger, right?
Blade
Yeah.
Runner one here. I'm trying to find this Blade Runner.
I mean, like,
Well, I saw a video of it
legitimately.
yesterday driving. It was like the first sighting, and it looked kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, it looked massive compared to what we kind of saw on
Here we
that
go,
live
yeah.
stream thing.
Look
but-
at these things. This totally reminds me. Look, there's total futuristic cars. This is totally it right here. The Lancia Siblio.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Look at that. That's totally it. Oh, look, guys, I found it.
Total Recall.
You might not be able to see it, but
We're gonna have to make our own meme for that.
Oh my god.
I don't think people have caught on to the Total Recall. They must be too young for that.
Yeah, probably. I'm
Movie's
old.
an old one.
I'm old. I can admit it. But yeah, I mean, this thing is ugly. I really, honestly cannot believe that people are going to buy this thing.
Wait, is that the Tesla truck below it too?
It is. It is. They actually show it almost
Oh,
side by
man.
side. If you look, if I could drop these other pictures out, it'd be a side by side of these two vehicles,
That's
and
pretty
it's
funny.
almost the exact same thing.
I just love the risk that Elon's taking here, though. Honestly, like
that could be an
he's-
expensive risk, though. If
It's
it
an
doesn't
expensive
catch
risk,
on.
but I mean, okay, they've
That
already
man
had
takes a lot of expensive
200,000
risks.
pre-orders in the first 48 hours.
But we talked about this.
I know,
It
you
could
guys-
be
you
like a
guys
bunch
gonna
of
say-
16-year-olds who grab their mom and dad's credit card.
Nonetheless, people are looking at it. People are interested in this product.
It's a great marketing ploy. I mean, the fact that it was plastered all over the internet,
I thought
all
the
over
flamethrower
everywhere.
was a good marketing ploy.
Well,
This is
the
this is a
flamethrower's a cool thing.
$60,000 freaking pain in the
Remember,
rear.
it's called not a flamethrower. I don't think they can legally produce flamethrower. But yeah, I think it's something very cool and innovative. Like he was saying, they're pushing the boundaries. So I don't know.
Pushing the boundaries of what a car could look like, and this is completely different than anything anybody's ever seen on the market before. Like I was saying in my video, like people thought it was a joke initially, but this is changing. I think the entire landscape of automotives.
I think it reminds me of pull up my screen there, Danny. It reminds me of the Homer mobile. It's just you say like it's what it could look like. It's like it could look like that. It doesn't mean it works though. I mean, like we were talking about yesterday, if it doesn't have a functional bed, there goes half of your trucking, more than half of your trucking market.
Yeah, but like we were talking about, the traditional F-150 buyer is
not going to be going for this.
Is not buying this. It's someone that's I
feel like this
it's
is
like
toy.
you. They're like we talked about this. They're looking for somebody like you.
Someone that wants something different. A change in the day-to-day average car.
Or do you think this is going to be like the next Hummer, and Hummer is just really cool at the moment, and then just dies
Hummers
down?
were at least functional because they were military grade. They were using those things in Iraq.
Dude, those H1s were not functional for everyday use. Let me tell you,
they were totally functional for everyday use.
They
the
weren't
problem
functional
is,
at all.
the problem
Well,
was
like,
you needed a 50 caliber gun strapped to the top, and
like, who needs that?
Had to be able to support a 13 mile per gallon freaking driving range.
And that still wasn't like way out of the bounds of what a car like usually looks like. Either.
No, yeah, this thing was crazy.
This is even different.
Yeah, no, this is something out of a sci-fi movie, like we said.
Yeah.
So if it catches on, I would be curious to see if other car manufacturers start to push these types of, I don't know what you would call
vehicles.
them.
I'm gonna say
Prototype,
no way.
like prototype looking.
Yeah,
vehicles,
we've seen these
so.
for years at the auto
Yeah,
show.
that's true.
But
not one that's
what the
actually
heck?
being, implemented and sold
Yeah.
on a commercial scale. But one of the big things, like I said in my show, was the battery that's behind this.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. That's a big move.
This is going to be the longest range battery for any commercial electronic vehicle.
Now, I don't know if any of us know the answer. Do we know if it's because it's a bigger battery or is it just a better battery?
I'm guessing it's just a better battery.
I mean, I don't know. That
You're
would be a big question to ask. 'Cause
I'm
if
not
it's a
quite
bigger
sure.
battery because it's a truck, well, yeah, of course you're going to get more mileage out of it. But if it's a better battery, because we've talked about, losing battery and everything else, like for all those that know how I'm a hater, I look at these things as a cell phone. No matter how good the technology gets, it's only going to have so far it can go. With a cell phone, your battery is only good for a couple of years before you're starting to think that you need to replace it. And now you're talking about a car. Like that's a lot for me.
And you were talking about yesterday that these Tesla vehicles are losing battery capacity in the cold weather.
Yeah, they lose a permanent damage to their battery. I think the guy had clocked 7% every year. Now, that wasn't 7% every year, so over the course of 10 years, you'd only have 0. It was 7% this year, and then his battery was at a certain level, and then 7% from that level down. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I just don't feel like the idea of the electric car is for everybody. I don't think it's going to be able to serve the means of everyone. I don't think you'll be able to get rid of gas.
Well,
If
look,
anything, at the best case scenario, in my opinion, is you're going to see a reversal where, like, right now you have very few people with the electric car. Maybe it'll be the opposite, where you'll have a lot of people with the electric car because they're living in a city and don't drive that much.
I don't know. I think
but on
over
the
time,
reverse end, you'll still have the gas vehicles for agriculture,
it's going to be
etc.
the battery lowering in price. Like these electric cars right now aren't a normal good because of the fact that these batteries are so expensive and so
They're
expensive
still
to buy
new.
these cars. Yeah,
like
they're
this
new.
whole concept of electric cars is a brand new
not
idea.
New. 1970 was the first electric car.
That's
not-
not
a new
This
concept.
not on a commercial scale though.
Yeah.
Those really weren't.
Not true. There was actually a car that
nobody
came
was-
out in the 90s that was an electric vehicle that didn't take off.
Yeah,
The
they never
first
gained
electric
traction.
car was a hybrid and was a Toyota Prius. Everybody knows that.
Oh boy, you are too young.
No, like in serious note, it hasn't been commercialized and or put on the street in such a large scale. Tesla is the first one to do this. So to make it more of a norm,
There was
quote
a
unquote.
Ford. I'm going to look it up right now. I know there was a Ford that came out commercially, and there were only a few hundred that were released. And in fact, I know that they found one recently in Atlanta in a garage.
But like I said,
in
to get them on
mint
the
condition.
road and to actually catch on, Tesla is the first one to create that norm of, oh, okay, electric cars are becoming like a thing.
I think it's fashionable.
Because now you're seeing not
That's
only
my opinion.
Tesla,
I think it's fashionable.
but you're seeing every car company creating electric cars, whether it's hybrid or
I'm rolling up my
full on
sleeves.
electric.
I'm ready to go full on hater.
There's
I'm
also
rolling
a
the sleeves
government
up.
initiative to do this. you
Yeah,
know?
the government's paying for it, right? Exactly.
Well, no, they're not paying for it.
How much
In
was
some-
it? You were
in
getting
China they are.
$5,000 subsidized
Not
from the
anymore.
government. If you were buying a Tesla, up until last year, wasn't it? When
I
was
didn't
the
hear about
cutoff?
this.
Yeah, there was a $5,000 subsidy that you'd get for buying a Tesla.
You're not wrong.
So it means that I'm
But-
paying for somebody's Tesla.
Tesla is being able to produce these cars cheaper and cheaper. I mean, we see the Model 3 that's starting at what, $35,000.
Yeah, we talked about this though. Nobody gets the starter model. Remember
Nobody gets the
these
starter model, but some people
Right.
do.
I
Someone
was
gets
gonna
the starter
say.
model. I don't know.
That $40,000 truck, and we talked about
I mean,
that
every
yesterday.
every
it's
car
gonna
you
go up
look
to
at,
60 real quick.
You know, every car you look at, you're looking at the starter model price.
That's what I do. I mean, I don't know what you guys are doing.
You're
Buying
always
the-
looking at the starter model price.
Yeah.
Oh, see, cars,
I mean-
cars. I love them.
They're going to get less and less expensive as these batteries do, and I think they're going to become more commercially viable.
And we talked about how innovative Tesla or Elon Musk likes to be. He's got plenty of money. He tries to build underground tunnels that will get you places within
Which,
minutes.
thank God,
And
Chicago said
look-
no to.
look,
Thank you,
going-
Chicago, for finally making a smart decision with my tax dollars.
I mean, that wasn't
Anyways.
realistic, let's be honest.
Yeah, but
he's
what
a
I was
big dreamer.
What I was alluding to is that he isn't far fetched to create such an infrastructure that all these electric cars can charge themselves wherever you are. Because right now, that's my biggest thing is the infrastructure isn't there. Like you were
No, it's
saying, the
not.
city is kind of like your only bet, or in LA and in the West Coast kind
right.
of states. But over here on the East Coast, I feel like there's very far and few between where your charging stations are. Especially if you were going to go like on a long distance trip or something like that, you got to really
That's why
like
this-
plan it out.
That's
Right?
where this Cybertruck comes into play. He's
There's-
got 500 miles.
Well,
There's-
I mean, he's going to have to create an infrastructure for these cars to actually be charged. So
Yeah.
not only is he going to make these cars be able to drive farther and farther as time goes on, as he's shown, it's only been like a couple years, and he's pushing the limits further and further. So
But every quarter, he's hitting record deliveries.
yeah, Eric, we're putting you down on the ground today.
All right, so here it is. I'm showing you wrong right now. There's an ultra rare GM EV1 abandoned in Atlanta parking garage. I've got
See,
the pictures of
rare.
it right here.
What the hell is that?
It's
See,
a
nobody-
GM, like you were saying, is a commercially viable vehicle that was produced and manufactured and sold EV1 vehicle.
Yeah,
Look
but
how
that
ugly
car-
this thing is.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not a good looking.
But in the
car,
year,
though.
you're basing that on today's standards. I'm looking for a year on this thing, but yeah, you're basing that on today's standards, and you know what? It doesn't look that different from a Tesla, really.
And that's what I'm saying. Look at the Cybertruck in 20 years. All the cars are going to look like this.
We're gonna.
We are living in very interesting times. That's
Yeah.
about all I can
But
say.
I'm just
about
showing you that there was a commercially viable electric car that was available that failed.
right.
So, and then the 1970s, there was an electric car that failed.
But it
So
didn't
this
catch
isn't a
on.
new idea.
No, I'm not saying it's a new idea. I'm saying that they're the first company to successfully do it, to put it out on the market, to make a norm of this. Because I see them everywhere.
Yeah, they are everywhere.
I
will
literally
grant you that.
cannot get on the road and not see a Tesla. So, I mean, congratulations to them.
And I
They're
can't stop seeing
killing
them in the
game.
news for like hitting things. You know,
Oh,
their
the auto
autopilot
drive?
failing.
That
like,
autopilot
gotta love
thing
that.
it's terrible. I don't want to say it's a terrible idea, but it's very dangerous
It's a
to be
terrible
able to go
idea.
and put that into a driver's hands. Like, oh yeah, you can just take your hands off the wheel. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
We've
you, can
talked-
only, you can only really use it on the highway, right? That's the only time it's actually...
No, it works everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, it
you
works
can use it
everywhere.
like in the,
Yeah,
in the
it's-
city?
Yeah.
It's a little terrifying in my opinion. I don't think
Yeah.
we're there yet. That type of stuff
I'm of the belief
coming back to
personally.
infrastructure, you need to have all the cars kind of.
I feel like you
autonomous.
gotta be able to. You have to break that line. You're either having a car that you're driving, or there's a car that's driving itself like a drone. I think the minute you start crossing that weird line, you're gonna start getting real strange lawsuits that are gonna happen.
Well, no, I mean, the person behind the wheel is still like
responsible.
Well, because
Responsible at the end of
currently
the
at the
day.
moment, yeah, because you're supposed to have your hands on the wheel.
I
but
swear, the
who doesn't-
first lawsuit we hear, it says it was my car's fault.
I'm telling you, it's coming.
But who doesn't love the idea of your car driving itself? I
Oh,
mean, you can
don't
just sit
disagree.
there,
I love
read
it,
a
but I
book,
feel
do
like
some work. Like,
Down with that idea. As long as I take the steering wheel out, and I'm not liable for what happens.
I think you just always need a steering wheel.
See, I think of the idea of the drone car. I think if you're going to do it, I think it's almost safer than human drivers because they look what computers can do. I mean, they've got drones that dance in the air. All it would take is one
Well-
miscalculation and they'd crash. You know,
Well, then you'd almost want every single car
that's
to
what
be
that's
automated.
what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, I feel like that's going to end up being the future. Is you're going to end up taking that out of people's hands.
Then it's illegal to be driving.
I don't know about
manually.
illegal, but it's going to be definitely rarer and rarer. Because I mean, like you said, who wouldn't? I've got a place up in Wisconsin. You know, it's a 6-hour drive. I would love to hit a button, take a nap for 6 hours, and end up there.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be awesome.
I would never have the trust in my car to take a nap. I would just No.
Well, especially
I
if
couldn't do that.
after it calculates what the chances are of hurting you or hurting the other person. It's like, no, you better be calculating me as I survive, not whatever that is.
But how people always say, be careful on the road. I'm not worried about how you drive. I'm worried about
Everybody else.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
because people drive like crazy. So to go to sleep behind the wheel of a
As somebody who
autonomous
rides a
car
motorcycle, I can tell you, it's not you. It's always everybody else.
Yeah, well, some of you guys motorcycle drivers are
Not to say there
insane,
aren't.
too.
Yeah, I'm not going to say there aren't dangerous ones, but yeah, every time I've gotten close, it's always been somebody else who's just not paying attention. But anyway, let's break it down and get into the battleground.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the battleground. I was so into the whole Tesla.
All right, so today I don't really have much to say. You know, with everything that's been going on in the markets, I'm not really going to add anything to my portfolio. I'm not really even looking at anything. I feel like there is far too much turmoil for me to really make a choice that would be worthwhile. So I'm still looking. I'm not giving up, but I feel like I need something to shake one way or the other, either with the government or I need something to shake with the trade deal before I really start moving on anything.
Yeah, how's your portfolio looking right now?
I'm going to pull it up right now.
Meow? Did you say meow?
Did I? Let's see. I'm probably up today because I know that Disney's been doing well, and yeah, I'm still up today. Not much, but I'm still up. Everything's pretty much in the green except for Matrix Take Two, and which doesn't exist
Small
anymore.
moves.
Takeda, yeah.
Nothing you're going to worry about. Again, these are long-term investment portfolios we've kind of created. So,
but I would like to get at least another $2,000 into this portfolio before I move on. There's definitely some technology that I want to look at. Somebody had actually texted earlier in here about what is it, CRISPR, and I will say that CRISPR is something that Danny knows that I'm super interested in because I feel like,
dude, that stuff is sci-fi.
It's going to Gattaca.
It's insane to think that they are training your body to physically go back and attack these cancer cells and whatnot.
CRISPR doesn't do that. CRISPR goes and rewrites your DNA.
Oh, is that what? Who am I thinking of then?
I'm not sure, but if you have a genetic disease, say like, you know, you're prone to breast cancer, and I know that they know that there's a couple genes that are specifically tied to breast cancer. They can go in, clip those genes out of your DNA, and then ostensibly you don't have cancer when you get older.
I'll have to rethink of what that company is that does the cell. It's cell gene therapy, I believe it's called. I forget the name of them, the company though, but I'll have to find that out for us. That's a very interesting. Kind of like, again, sci-fi way that the doctors are being able to not cure, but I don't know, treat, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
So if this is a Gattaca idea, so I'm guessing they're doing this at a young age. They're changing the DNA. At
Some guy in China just actually got in trouble for going outside ethics realms and used the software or the technology to go and actually make AIDS-free babies.
What?
I think it was 13 kids that were all treated with CRISPR to make sure that they wouldn't be susceptible to the AIDS virus.
I mean, why would you get in trouble for that? You're saving
because the ethics board doesn't agree with
saving
that.
these babies' lives.
Yeah, but there's those lines that people don't across.
I mean,
when you
like
start
we were
to
talking
play
about,
quote
like,
unquote God.
Literally, you'd be able to start with this technology. Theoretically, you would be able to start making designer babies. You could have
superhumans, right?
7-foot tall babies that are blue-eyed, and
and this is going to go back to the point you're talking about Gattaca. Like, it's going to be the survival of the richest.
pretty much. Yeah, I don't.
It's a scary thought.
It definitely is. I mean, even a weird way that ties to that kind of now. I mean, you've got surrogate parents. You know, you have parents that pay other people to have their baby for them.
Those are understandable, though.
But I mean,
it's a little bit different than manipulating DNA to make the perfect child.
Is it when you have not really? Didn't Kim Kardashian do it? She looks like she's perfectly capable of having a kid. She just paid somebody to have a baby for her.
Maybe she didn't want to mess up.
Didn't want to get fat.
The whole thing. Yeah, she makes money off of herself. So I don't.
But
know.
I mean, like, this technology to me is crazy. I mean, the idea that you can literally go into somebody's genes and just change anything. I mean, that to me is a pretty crazy technology, and the fact that it hasn't really moved much is somewhat troubling to me because I feel like this is the future, man. This is Gattaca.
Oh no, people are definitely watching this. I will say. I mean, if we've talked to Kevin Cook about it, he would probably go on a book rant.
But if you look at the stock, it just doesn't move much. It kind of stays right where it's at, and actually it trended down, I want to say, recently.
I think a lot of those.
I mean, year to date, it's up 122.
I can't remember where I was looking at it recently. I'm pulling it up, but yeah, I mean, it's a stock that I feel like this should be
definitely keep it on your radar.
It is. I mean, it's in our watch list.
Yeah,
like, so it's there. But yeah, I mean, this technology to me is just crazy, and I would wait I'm waiting myself to try to find a point to get in.
Yeah, I think a lot of the companies like that kind of tend to work off of any approvals or kind of big news. That's what I would imagine. I can't see that company just bursting up just because of what it is. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah, it's crazy to me. I mean,
I don't know though. I mean, you see the marijuana stocks doing that. They literally just bursted just because people are interested in getting into marijuana stocks.
Right.
And it wasn't enough free flow to, to control it. But
right. And then you have the problems like the government getting involved, and I mean Canada, their system. I mean, we could talk to Bourne about this for days about how their Canadian system is overflowed and not right. But here in the States, I mean, we're just held back by the gov.
And that's what was initially, the catalyst of these stocks booming, is that they thought it was going to be a fast move federally in the U.S., but it's going to be, in my eyes, at least 5 to 10 years out, if not longer.
Yeah, I could see about 5. I wouldn't say 10. I'd say 10 would be pushing it, but
yeah,
within 5
federally
years.
legalized?
Yeah, federally. I mean, there's been talk already about it in the House.
The House already pushed it.
There's
It's
just
going
so
to
much litigation that goes.
I'm pretty sure it's going to the
this.
Senate, but the problem is that the current administration isn't really prone on making any kind of moves, so it's not really going to happen. But I think it's just a step in the right direction for these types of companies to see the federal legalization. So
Michigan just went legal last month. Illinois goes legal next month. I mean, it's dominoes at this point. They're just toppling. The government's going to have to give in.
it'll happen. It's just as a
And it's
timing game with the administrations and what will happen with the votes and
there
stuff.
was a Democrat in for 8 years, and that didn't happen.
It's going to be to the government's benefit too. There's a huge amount of
the
tax
tax.
potential in this, and
I want to
honestly
say
think
that
we
I
need
saw
it.
that within the first couple weeks there in Michigan, they made $1.6 million with the couple stores that were there. I think it was 5, and they made over $275,000 in taxes.
That's crazy. And that's just one city. It was Ann Arbor, right?
Yeah. 5
Wow.
stores.
That's crazy.
So I mean, there is money there. The government, I think, has just got to figure out a way to reel it in. But anyway, what do you got, Danny?
I got diddly squat.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm kind of on the sidelines right now. Our portfolio unfortunately went back into the red, but not too much. So it's not something that I'm concerned about. We're down 0.15%. So
No,
we
it's
were up
nothing.
1% finally after kind of being in the graveyard. But yeah, we're making our way back. We have some good investments here. Disney is one of my favorites. As you guys know, I'm a big proponent for the Disney Plus. I've been watching so many movies. I've told Eric
You have
about the
torn
binge watching,
through
so-
Disney Plus in the last couple weeks, man.
Yeah,
That's the thing, is that library runs out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
that's what
As
I
an
was
adult.
saying. Once I'm done, I
Yeah.
don't know where I'm gonna go. So it's one of those things where I've slowed down. I'm not gonna binge watch anymore.
People
so.
have heard me say it. Once you're through all their big stuff, the Marvel and the, what's the other one? They have the Star Wars stuff. Like, there ain't much for adults.
Star
Pretty
Wars,
much it's
but
all meant for kids.
I think they're gonna slowly kind of push out their own content,
Well,
as
they
they've
could-
shown with the Mandalorian and
You
a few
guys
other
see The
shows, so.
Mandalorian?
I have, yeah. I kind of enjoy it. I think it's more of an entertainment factor. Eric thinks way too highly of this Mandalorian, thinking he's supposed to be like
He's supposed to be this bad
gladiator.
dude, and yet he gets snuck up on and shot down.
Yeah,
It's
no
like,
spoilers.
Never gets
though.
killed though.
Yeah, true. See, but yeah,
just-
it's good. I enjoyed it, so it's a decent show.
You
So we'll
guys,
see.
you guys watch The Irishman at all?
I am actually going to give that one a shot this weekend. I heard it's very long, so
Yeah, you gotta
3 hours and like 40 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, over 3.5 hours of showtime there.
Oh
Did-
my
I take it
gosh.
you watched it?
I didn't finish it. I watched about 2 hours of it. I loved it, but you really got to pay attention to it. It's not a fast movie. It's
It's a Scorsese, yeah.
So you gotta give it some time. You gotta focus on it. But I thought they did a good job with it.
I'm going to give it a shot this weekend just because I needed something to do because it's starting to get cold out.
Yeah.
And I don't have my snowmobile.
And
so-
Netflix isn't off the board yet, so they're still making good content. I mean, they're having a huge
actually
push
just-
in December.
They
here.
just got pinged yesterday. The government told them to stop stealing people from Fox.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that. They're poaching Fox employees.
Yeah. The government had to step in and tell them to stop doing it, which is hilarious.
Wow. Okay.
Well, let's see if we got any more comments here, and if that's not the case, we'll get out of here. But yeah, it seems like for the most part, the market ain't gonna do anything until we hear something else. What about iRobot stock? Well, you know what? A lot of these questions here we'll focus on another time. There's a lot of little stocks here. We'll
Yeah,
bring
leave
those in the next week.
Leave them in the chat section. We'll definitely revisit
Come
them
on,
next
guys.
week.
We've been
So-
at it for almost an hour. Do you really want to hear us talk for another 20 minutes?
All right.
So with that, Dan, thanks for showing up on the show. Really appreciate you coming in on a short notice like that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. Hopefully you'll come back again. Guys, don't forget, like, subscribe, comment below. Don't forget to check out Zacks.com/promo. Check out the $1 deal if you're interested in checking out Zus, because Zus comes out next week. And with that, y'all, we'll talk to you next week.
Peace.